Hey everyone, and welcome back to Plot Peek. Today we're diving deep into one of the most anticipated superhero movies of the year, the Fantastic Four: First Steps. So if you love behind-the-scenes secrets, box office drama, and all the juicy details about Marvel's first family finally getting their proper MCU debut, you're in for a treat. But before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now and ring that notification bell, because we've got tons more epic movie breakdowns coming your way. Alright, so here we are. The Fantastic Four: First Steps finally landed in theaters, and honestly, it's been quite the roller coaster of reactions. Marvel's been struggling to find their footing lately, you know? After Deadpool and Wolverine crushed it last year, they really needed this one to work. And, well, spoiler alert, it kinda did and kinda didn't, which, let's be honest, is peak Marvel these days. First off, let's talk about what's actually works in this thing. Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, or Mr. Fantastic, brings this warm, slightly obsessive scientist vibe that's actually pretty compelling. The guy's basically playing a brilliant octopus, as Pascal himself described it, stretching his way through problems both literal and emotional. Vanessa Kirby absolutely steals the show as Sue Storm, though. She's got this quiet authority that makes you believe she could lead the team and be the emotional anchor all at once. Joseph Quinn's Johnny Storm brings the cocky charm you'd expect from the Human Torch, and Eben Moss-Backrack somehow makes the thing feel both tragic and lovable without overdoing the angst. But here's where things get interesting and, well, a bit messy. The movie's set in this retro-futuristic 1960s world called Earth 828, which, fun fact, is named after Jack Kirby's birthday, August 28th. The aesthetic is absolutely gorgeous, I'm not gonna lie. Think Mad Men meets the Jetsons with a dash of Stanley Kubrick. Director Matt Shakman, who did WandaVision, clearly knows how to create a visual feast. The Baxter Building looks like something out of a mid-century modern magazine, and the flying cars are just chef's kiss. Now, Michael Giacchino's score, oh my god, it's probably the best thing about this entire movie. The main theme literally spells out Fantastic Four in its melody, and once you hear it, you can't unhear it. It's got this optimistic, Saturday morning cartoon energy that perfectly captures what the Fantastic Four should feel like. The way he weaves in those retro sci-fi elements with heroic brass, it's honestly brilliant. But, and there's always a but, isn't there? The script feels incredibly safe. Like, these four characters barely argue with each other. Where's the messy family drama? Where's Reed being so obsessed with science that he forgets to be human? The comics make Reed this fascinating, flawed genius who sometimes tests the patience of everyone around him. But Pascal's version is just, well, too likable, too normal. And that's a problem, because normal doesn't make for compelling superhero storytelling. The villain situation is even weirder. So we get Galactus, right? Ralph Ineson voices this massive planet-eating cosmic entity, and visually he's incredible. Finally, after that disaster cloud from 2007, we get a comic-accurate Galactus who looks properly terrifying. But then he starts talking like your philosophy professor who's had too much to drink. The menace just deflates every time he opens his mouth to pontificate about hunger and existence. Julia Garner plays Silver Surfer, or rather Shalabal, which is actually a cool comic book deep cut. Some fans got upset about the gender swap, but honestly, Garner brings this haunted elegance to the role that works. The problem isn't her performance, it's that the CGI looks a bit off in close-ups. It's got that uncanny valley thing going on that's distracting during emotional moments. Speaking of problems, the pacing is all over the place. The movie starts 4 years after they got their powers, which sounds great in theory, no origin story slog, right? But then we don't really get to see them as a functional team either. They're just there, being generically heroic, without much personality conflict or growth. It's like they skipped the interesting part of their relationship development. Box office-wise, the movie opened with $218 million worldwide, which isn't terrible, but isn't exactly setting the world on fire either. Disney needed this to hit around $400 to $500 million to break even, and honestly, with that kind of budget, anything less feels like a disappointment. The IMAX presentation only had about 6 minutes of true 4:31 footage, which for a cosmic spectacle movie feels pretty underwhelming. The Easter eggs, though, man, they went all out. There are references to Stan Lee and Jack Kirby everywhere, from street names to shop signs. The Excelsior spaceship, named after Stan Lee's catchphrase, all the Yancey Street references, even a timely comic sign in Times Square. It's clear the filmmakers love the source material, even if they didn't quite nail the character dynamics. And then there's that post-credit scene. Robert Downey Jr. shows up as Dr. Doom, kneeling before baby Franklin Richards with his mask in hand. Vanessa Kirby confirmed it really was RDJ on set, not a stand-in. The implications are massive for Avengers Doomsday, but it also raises so many questions about how this all connects to the larger MCU. The visual effects work is generally solid, with some spectacular space sequences, and the practical effects for Herbie the robot are genuinely charming. Matt Shakman made a real effort to do as much practically as possible, building massive sets, including a 2/3 scale Times Square. When Julia Garner's Silver Surfer arrives, she was actually 30 feet up on a lift with 500 background performers in period costumes. But here's the thing that really bugs me about this movie. It feels like it was made by committee. Like someone took a checklist. Retro-futuristic aesthetic? Check. Beloved cast? Check. Cosmic threat? Check. Family themes? Check. And just ticked boxes without really understanding what makes the Fantastic Four special. These characters work best when they're dysfunctional, when Reed's obsessions cause problems, when Ben struggles with being a monster, when Johnny's recklessness gets them in trouble. Instead, we get this sanitized version where everyone gets along, and the biggest conflict is whether to give up their baby to save the world, which, spoiler alert, they don't, and then the baby just solves everything with his reality-warping powers. It's such a cop-out ending that removes any real stakes or character growth. The movie's biggest strength is also its biggest weakness. It looks fantastic, sounds incredible, and the cast is genuinely trying their best. But underneath all that polish, there's not much substance. It's pleasant enough to watch, but it doesn't leave you thinking about these characters or caring about their journey beyond the credits. Critics seemed generally positive, with an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, but audience reactions have been more mixed. Some people love the retro aesthetic and the fact that it doesn't require homework to understand. Others, like me, wish it had more personality and took bigger risks with the characters. The production went through some interesting changes too. John Watts was originally supposed to direct, but dropped out after Spider-Man No Way Home burned him out. Matt Shakman stepped in and brought his WandaVision experience with period settings. John Malkovich was cast as Red Ghost but got completely cut from the final film, though his super apes show up briefly in a montage. Looking ahead, we know the team will return in Avengers Doomsday, where they'll presumably cross over from Earth 828 into the main MCU timeline. The post-credit scene with Doom suggests Franklin's reality-warping powers will be crucial to whatever multiversal chaos is coming. But honestly, based on this film, I'm not super excited about seeing more of these versions of the characters. So here's my final take. The Fantastic Four: First Steps is a beautifully crafted, well-intentioned movie that plays things way too safe. It's got incredible production values, a fantastic score, and a cast that deserves better material. But it feels like a missed opportunity to really explore what makes Marvel's first family special. It's the superhero equivalent of comfort food, pleasant while you're consuming it, but not particularly memorable afterward. The movie works as a palate cleanser after some of Marvel's more convoluted recent entries, but it doesn't solve the fundamental problem of making us care about these characters as individuals. It's telling that the most interesting character moments come from Ben Grimm, who barely gets any screen time compared to the others. For all its technical achievements and good intentions, First Steps feels like a stepping stone rather than a destination. It gets the team where they need to be for future crossovers, but it doesn't make a compelling case for why we should want to see their solo adventures continue. What did you think of the Fantastic Four First Steps? Did the retro aesthetic win you over, or did you want more character development like I did? Are you excited to see them in Avengers Doomsday, or are you hoping they get better material next time? Let me know in the comments below, because I always love hearing your thoughts on these big Marvel releases. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive into Marvel's first family, make sure to subscribe to Plot Peak for more movie breakdowns, box office analysis, and all the behind-the-scenes drama you could want. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.